It's 2023 and cheap podcast mixers and sound cards are a dime a dozen. I've reviewed a handful on this channel, and while they work for beginners, a lot of us find ourselves eventually limited by either the sound quality or the feature set. Enter the Mackie DLZ Creator. I've spent a lot of time with this podcast mixer lately, and for those of you who are serious about content creation and are ready to step up to a more professional solution, I think this Mackie DLZ is one of the best options on the market right now. Let's take a look at it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Phase Reviews YouTube channel. My name is Jordan. If you're new here, thank you for joining me. And if you're a subscriber, welcome back as always. The Mackie DLZ Creator is an absolute beast of a podcast mixer, and it contains just about every feature and effect that I think a professional podcaster could want. In this video today, I'm going to dive into an unboxing and an overview of as many of the features as I can get to in a 20-minute video of this DLZ Creator. It has a lot to offer, from multiple inputs and outputs to multi-track recording, and I just can't wait to tell you all about it. Before I get to the unboxing, make sure that you like this video, leave a comment, ring the notification bell after you subscribe so that you don't miss any more videos coming down the pipeline. But enough about that, let's take a look at the DLZ Creator. As you can see, I've already unboxed the DLZ Creator, and I've got everything that came in the packaging right next to me, but I will overlay the unboxing on top of this video as we talk about what is included in the box. Of course, we have the mixer itself, as well as an included power cord, and I'm just going to get the thing that I would change about this mixer out of the way right from the start. The included power cord is a DC wall wart. It does screw in, so it's locking and it can't be pulled out while in use, but I would love to see an IEC cable. It's the standard professional audio cable solution, and I don't know if they just didn't have enough space, or for a mixer like this, the DC plug is a better option, but for me, IEC cables are easily replaceable, and I love to see them in my gear. That's really, out of this whole video, the only gripe that I have with this thing, so we're going to move to all of the pros now. Now, besides the mixer, which is very well packaged, we do get a USB-C cable, which we can use to connect to our computer and use this as a sound card or as a recording input for our audio software. They also include a handful of papers here. We've got our software installation manual. They include a subscription to Waveform if you want to, or not a subscription, a license if you want to use that software. I'm just using Audacity because it's easy for me. There's also a little warning here to update the firmware on this. That took a matter of seconds. It was very, very quick to do with an SD card or a USB stick. And then we have our quick start guide. Now, this will get you going with the basics of the mixer, but for a more detailed manual, you'll have to go to Mackie's website. Now, in addition to the DLZ Creator, I also have their EM99B microphone with the stand and cable here. We're not going to talk about this too much in this video, but all of the audio that you're hearing is coming through this microphone from Mackie into the DLZ Creator. I'm not using any in-camera audio today. The rest of this video is going to be split up into two parts. First, we're going to take a look at the back panel of the DLZ Creator. We're going to talk about the inputs and the outputs. Then I'm going to put the camera overhead and walk you through all of the different hardware, the buttons, the sliders, the knobs, and then we'll go up into this gorgeous 10.1-inch touchscreen to talk about all of the different software effects, EQ, and other settings that you can control within the DLZ Creator. Now, as an overview, it's worth noting that this has multiple XLR TRS combo inputs, which you'll see in just a moment, as well as Bluetooth functionality, SD and USB card readers to both play media and record files, which I'm doing right now to the SD card. We've got really nice faders that we can adjust our levels with physically, as well as a touchscreen where we can control EQ, echo, delay, and a bunch of other options. One nice thing about the DLZ Creator, which you're going to see more in depth in a moment, is that it has multiple user modes, so that depending on your skill level, you can adjust the functionality of this to your experience. For example, there is an easy mode where most of the settings are taken care of for you and you just get great audio on the other end. There's an enhanced mode where you gain a little more functionality for the intermediate user, and then a pro mode where you gain a lot of control over more advanced audio engineering settings. Now, let's put the camera behind this and take a look at the inputs and outputs. This is the back of the DLZ Creator. We've got a lot of inputs and outputs. Starting over here on the right, we have 4 XLR 1/4-inch combo inputs. These can be used either for XLR microphone inputs or for tip ring sleeve or tip ring sleeve 1/4-inch jacks. They're very, very flexible. They can be used for anything from microphones to instruments or line inputs, and you can control their functionality in the mixer portion of the DLZ, which you'll see in just a moment. To the left of that, we have channels 5, 6, which is a stereo 1/4-inch input. Again, balanced or unbalanced. We have our main outputs right here if you want to route some audio to a pair of studio monitors or speakers at a venue or in your studio. To the left of that, we have 4 headphone outputs. So in line with the 4 inputs that we have, if you've got 4 people, say, as part of a podcast or a stream, each can have their own headphone output that they can adjust the volume of to their liking. We'll get into that a little bit more later. To the left, we have the 1/8-inch or 3.5mm auxiliary input. This will be for your MP3 players, another PC, any sort of device you want to send in a stereo signal. This is where you'll do it. Below that, we have our USB-C input for connection to the computer if you want to use this as a sound card for multi-track recording or for streaming. We also have an Ethernet port right here. This does not have functionality yet as far as I know, but they will be putting out a firmware update in the future that this is going to have some sort of functionality. We'll see what comes down the pipeline. Off to the left, we have a USB and an SD card. You can put media in here and load samples or record your shows to those devices. And as you'll see a little bit later, this is capable of multi-track recording not only to the computer, but also to our removable media. Lastly, we have that screw-in DC power plug that I mentioned earlier, as well as our power toggle switch. We'll swing the camera up overhead and take a look at the meat and potatoes of this DLZ Creator. This final and longest portion of the video is going to be split into 2 sections. The first one taking a look at all the different hardware controls, including the sliders, buttons, and knobs, and the second zooming in to look at the 10-inch touchscreen to talk about the built-in software, effects, routing, and EQ. So with the hardware, we have 9 faders right down here at the bottom. These are really, really nice in their feel. They've got a plastic top, but smooth control all the way up, and you can see we've got a visual representation on the screen of where each slider is at with a little light that illuminates whenever we hit Unity. Really, really nice to see. Above each of these main 8 faders right here, you're going to get 2 buttons. One is to solo the channel so that you can hear it in your headphones. You can solo multiple channels just to dial in your mix before you go live or to change something on the fly. We also have a mute button right here, which will mute the selected channel so that the signal does not come through. Down on the end, this last fader, or second to last, I should say, for channels 11 and 12 controls the volume of our sample bank. It only has a solo button, no mute button for the sample pads. The sample pads themselves, there are 6 of them. They can be color controlled. They have a nice silicone feel to them. You do have to give them a little bit of force to get them to activate, but they feel nice, and I don't feel like they're going to wear out in the long run. The last channel on the right is our main left and right stereo outputs. This has a channel mute instead of a solo button, and again, we can adjust that volume right here with the slider, and it will illuminate when it is at Unity. To the right of the screen, we have 5 encoder wheels or knobs. These are color-coded as well, and their function will change based on which screen of the mixer you are in. Right now, in the Overview Home tab, they control the headphone volume. You can see I've got headphones plugged into channel 1, set at -15 dB so that I can monitor my signal right here. The other 3 knobs below that would control the other pairs of headphones, and this last knob is not used in this current screen. To the right of the knobs, we have 3 buttons. This home button right here, no matter which section of the mixer we are in, if we click the home button, it will take us back to our overview, showing us all our different levels and channels. The record button right here is flashing because I currently am recording. If you click that button, the recording panel will go away. Whenever you want to access it for recording, you can click that again and it will say, how long you've been recording for. You can pause, stop, and it will show you where you are recording to. Right now, we are recording to the SD card. I'm going to click that so it's away for the rest of the video. Below that is the auto mix button. This is one of the handy features about the DLZ Creator. It's not exclusively for pros only. If you are new, but you do want to buy nice equipment, the auto mix button will help you set your levels when you have a podcast or a stream with multiple people or inputs going on at once. You just activate the auto mix right up here, and then you can select the priority of each channel, and the mixer will automatically set the levels so that when multiple people are talking, those with the highest priority get the highest level. So let's say channel 1 is me. I want me to have high priority, and I've got 2 guests on channels 1 and 2. I can select the put them at medium, and then maybe this is like my background track, I can put that at low, and the mixer will handle all of the level setting for you. Just make sure that the channels are turned on and assigned for the auto mix capability. Now, we're not going to use that for this video right now, but I did want to show you that that's an option. Clicking that button again will get rid of the auto mix panel. That is all of the hardware. Now let's take a look at the 10.1-inch full color HD touchscreen. It looks beautiful, and there's a lot of different settings we can control in here. This digital mixer really shrinks the form factor of what would be required to have these effects, compressors, and the like in a mixer. If we didn't have this touchscreen, which allowed us to access those settings, the mixer would be giant. So this gives us a lot of flexibility and functionality. So let's zoom the camera in a bit and take a look at those settings. The heart of the DLZ Creator is the 10.1-inch full color HD touchscreen. This thing is beautiful to look at, and it gives you access to all of the different controls of the mixer. Now, one of the things that Mackie is really touting, which I think is awesome for anyone of any skill level, is the fact that you can change how you interact with this mixer based upon your experience. So before we talk about any of the different things you see on the screen right here, we're going to go over to the little gear icon to the settings mode, and I'm just going to show you that right now we are in the easy control mode. So I'm going to keep it on easy. I'm going to go back, but we'll work through the different modes so that you can see how they all work. Now, hitting that home button will take you to the overview tab. We saw this earlier. This is where you're going to see all of the different levels as well as the visual display of your sliders. You're going to see where you're hitting on your level meters, and you can even control what all of these icons and colors are, which you'll see in the next tab. This, again, is the heart. This right panel, which shows our headphone levels, will change as time goes on. Between the levels and the headphone levels is the sample bank. You can see we've got the 6 little circles representing the 6 sample pads. And then we have at the bottom where it says bank, the ability to access 3 other sample banks. So 4 times 6, 24 total samples we can access right here in this little strip. Now, we'll jump over to the channel tab, and this tab is going to change based upon which channel you are on. So I'm just on channel 1, which is my microphone. In the easy mode, there's very limited things to see on this tab. Basically, we can choose a preset. I've got the EM99B, which is the Mackie microphone that I'm using right now, but you can change it to instrument, line, music. There's the SM7B. There's a couple other Mackie mics, as well as just basic condenser and dynamic, all that. You just select the one that you want and hit load, and that will pull that preset in. You can also change the icon as well as the color for the channel. You can change the channel name, so I could write Jordan or the name of each of the guests on my podcast. And you can also bypass all processing if you don't want any EQ or effects applied to this channel. Now, because we don't have a lot of control, this is really automated at this point. You just hit microphone setup. That will take you to this. You can select, I have, for example, the EM99B right here. You click next. You can select your input level and turn on phantom power manually, or you can just click listen and set for me. So if I talk, and now the mixer has automatically set the level for me, which is really, really handy. Click next, and it takes you back to the main screen. So the settings on this screen are going to be the same for our 4 XLR TRS combo inputs, as well as for the line inputs and media inputs that we have over here. That will change as we go into the different modes. Selecting the next tab, media, this is where we can access files on our USB or our SD card slot. For example, if I hit SD and go into the folder DLZ Creator Recordings, these are the audio recordings that I made so far as I've filmed this video. You can access them, play them back, route them to channel 910. If you want to play a phone call, an interview, something on your podcast, you can do that on channel 9 and 10. The next screen over is snapshots. Snapshots allows you to save the functionality of the mixer, the effects, the levels, the echo, the delay, all that stuff, so that, let's say you record in multiple locations, you've got a home studio and you've got a remote studio or a friend studio, you bounce between the two. You can set everything how you want for one location, save it as a snapshot with that button right there, and that way when you go back to the same location or to the same environment, you can load up that snapshot and you don't have to dial everything in again. The last button is samples. This is where we access the samples, and we'll play the ones that are included. There are 6 included out of the gate. So if I put up the sample slider and click the first one, this is the air horn. We've got the applause and laughter, the scream, the buzzer, the censor button, if you want to bleep someone, and then Mackie After Dark is like a little instrumental track, which is kind of nice if you don't have a podcast intro or something yet. Okay. Now, each of these, if let's say we go into bank B and we want to load up a sample, you tap to edit it. You can load a sample from the disk. So you could load a file, that you've brought over from your computer, or you can hit record sample and make your own. So if I hit record, hey, this is a sample of the Mackie DLZ Creator. You hit stop recording, and now I can choose a different color for it. I can name it, and then we can control how the sample is played back. Play and pause, click it once to play, click it again to pause, play and stop, click it, play, click it, stop. Retrigger, every time you click it, it starts from the beginning and plays. Looping, you click it and it'll just keep going until you hit it again. And then bleep, where you have to hold the button for the sample to play. So a lot of different functionality. You can select where it's saved, and again, you can rename it up at the top. So if I exit out here, and now we're in bank B, if I click that, this is a sample of the Mackie DLZ Creator. It plays my sample, which is really handy. And you can, of course, delete the Mackie ones. I just keep them in and put my additional samples on the other banks. So that is the easy mode. If we go back to the settings here, we'll change the mode in a moment, but you do have some general settings: screen brightness, the button brightness when it's lit, and then the button brightness when it's dimmed. And not only can you slide them on the display itself, but you can use the sliders off to the right to adjust those as well. So depending on what you want to do, the physical knobs or the touchscreen, you can do that. Now, there's some other options on settings: Bluetooth and disk. You can pair your Bluetooth, which I have mine paired right now, and set up in channel 910. So let's play back a little bit of Bluetooth audio on channel 910. You can, of course, unpair it and pair other devices, or enable or disable the Bluetooth. So this is just a royalty-free track from YouTube. We won't play too much of it. Fade that down again. We'll get into the routing of these channels a little bit later, but right now Bluetooth is set up for channel 910. Our SD card, we can see the capacity, what's available, and then our USB drive, I don't have one inserted right now. For recording and routing, because recording is in progress, we can't change the settings, but we can choose whether or not we're recording a stereo or multi-track recording to the computer through the USB, whether or not we're doing the same through the disk, and then whether or not we're recording to the USB or the SD. So again, you can record up to 14 tracks of audio, I believe, to the USB or the disk, or you can just go with your standard stereo. We have a couple of the settings that, again, we can't change because we're recording right now, but things like bypass all processing, change whether the effects are post-fader or pre-fader, automatically ducking certain channels when you're speaking so that the music dips down, and then one tap record changes the functionality of this button. So we won't mess with those right now. And then our about section is where we can retake a tour of the mixer or put it in demo mode. Now, jumping back to the main page, easy, we're going to switch this to enhance now and see how that changes things. So going back to the overview tab, this screen is not really going to change from mode to mode. Now, the channel tab is where we're going to start to see differences from the easy mode. You can see this box is the same, where we have our preset, our channel icon or color, the channel name, and the ability to bypass processing. But now in the middle, we have the option to choose dynamic or condenser microphone. Condenser will automatically apply the phantom power. We can see our gain right there, but we still just set the gain level automatically. We don't have control over that ourselves. Reverb and delay, we can toggle on and off. So here's the reverb, which is super strong, and here's the delay. If I turn that on, there's the delay, and we do get some basic control over those in a different tab. Advanced controls are where we can do things like set the input level manually, turn on and off a high pass filter if we want to use that. Do a little bit of EQing, which mine has been done for the EM99B already, and toggle our EQ on and off. Turn on a noise gate, turn on a compressor, and turn on de-essing. If you've never used these, noise gate basically shuts off the signal if it drops below a certain point so that you're not getting a lot of ambient background noise. Compression makes your signal level more even, so it brings up the lows, brings down the highs so that it's more uniform. You can adjust the amount of compression with a simple slider. And then de-essing helps remove some of the harsher S sounds from your speech so they aren't as piercing. Okay, now jumping over to the FX tab, on enhance mode, we do have the ability, if I turn this on, let me go back to my channel setup here, turn on reverb. It's going to be really strong, but I can bring it down. You've got a simple control right here. It's on Cathedral, that's why it sounds so big. We can just do like medium room, load that up. Okay, so here's like a more moderate reverb. You can adjust how much of that you want, or mute it on and off. The same with your delay. There's a few presets built in: long, delay, slap backspace, warm. You just hit load to pull that up and turn it on and off. So we'll keep that back off for now. The media tab, same. The snapshots tab, the same. And the samples tab, the same in the enhanced mode. So lastly, let's jump over to pro mode. And if you have experience in audio, this may be where you head immediately. I think the majority of everyday users are going to kind of gravitate towards the enhanced mode. It's just enough control for the average person. It's probably what I'm going to use going forward. But if you do want to get to the nitty gritty, there's the pro mode. This overview screen, not changed. This channel screen definitely changed. We've got 5 tabs up here now, as well as more control in our boxes. Box number 1, all of the same. Box number 2, we have our gain right here front and center, as well as our toggle control for the phantom power. Pan, we can now pan the channel right and left. So if I want to pull that over to the right or pull that over to the left, we can do that. I'm going to use this knob to get it back to, let's see if I can get, so now, see, that's something, I wish we could just get it perfectly back to the middle. There we go. Got to dial that in. Reverb send, so again, you can kind of put the amount of reverb you want, which I think is really handy, as well as the amount of delay that you want. You can pull that back. Again, these knobs will also give you the same functionality. Sorry, I'm like covering the screen, but it's where I have to sit. EQ. So now we've got a much more involved EQ. Besides pulling in your preset, which is what this did, you can turn your high pass filter on and off, and whether the EQ is on or off. You can also use the knobs to control things like what frequency you have each band at, how much gain each band has up or down, and then the Q, which is the wideness of the cut or the boost that you're doing. So 3 different bands, each adjustable frequency, and again, every channel has its own EQ. Then we have the gate. Now we have control, not only just turning the gate on and off, but also different settings like the attack, the release, the hold, all of that's right there. You can see it visually and see your level as well. Gate toggle on and off, and then, you know, a preset for different kinds of noise gates. Again, I'm not advanced enough to know all of these settings, but they're there for those of you that care. Compressor, same thing. Attack, release, ratio, gain, all of that. Really granular control, something you would definitely see on a professional mixer. And then lastly, the de-esser also has control like width, threshold, frequency, and range, okay? The FX tab, you're gaining more functionality here as well. So not only do you just have like an amount, volume, low to high, you can control things like pre-delay, decay, low pass, reverb level, really tune the reverb and the delay to your liking. Now, these are the only 2 effects that are built in, the reverb and the delay. There's no others. I think for podcasting, that's probably more than enough. And delay, you get the same ability. Media, unchanged. Snapshots, unchanged. And samples, also unchanged. So in summary, I think the enhanced mode is kind of the sweet spot of everything, and it's where I'm going to live. It gives you just enough control over things for the average user without getting too granular into things like attacks and releases and compressors and de-essers. Allows me to really shape the sound. And with the built-in presets and the automatic level control, if you're a newbie to podcasting, and again, you're wanting to choose a professional podcast mixer, this is going to handle the bulk of the work for you. I'm super, super impressed with everything that comes with this DLZ Creator. So there you have it. That is the DLZ Creator from Mackie, an absolute beast of a podcast mixer, and pretty much what I imagine being the go-to option for professional podcasters going forward under $1,000. It has everything you need, and it can be adapted to your skill level. So if you're a new podcaster or a seasoned pro, you can take control of this in the way that you would like. If you'd like to check out this in more depth, I'll include a link down below where you can go buy it, support the channel. Of course, I would appreciate you for it, or you can just read more about it. If you're not picking up one of these, go ahead and like the video, ring the notification bell, subscribe, of course, and leave a comment letting me know what you think of the DLZ Creator. That's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.